On the inside cover was Bhakti Vedanta Swami's explanation of the cover illustration. So we will continue. When the printing and binding were completed, there were 1100 copies. Bhaktivedanta Swami would receive 100 copies, and the printer would keep the balance. From the sale of the 100 copies, Bhaktivedanta Swami would continue to pay off his debt to the printer and binder. Then he would receive another supply of books. This would continue until he had finished paying his debt. His plan was to then publish a second volume from the profit of the first and a third volume from the profit of the second. Kantavedi went to pick up the first 100 copies. He hired a man who put the books in a large baskets, placed them on his hand truck, and then hauled them through the street to Chipivada temple, where Bhaktivedanta Swami stacked them in his room on a bench. Bhaktivedanta Swami went out alone to sell his books and present them to important people. Dr. Radhakrishnan, who gave him a personal audience, agreed to read the book and write his opinion. Hanuman Prasad was the first to write favorable review as follows. It is a source of great pleasure for me that a long cherished dream has materialized and is going to be materialized with this and the would-be publications. I thank the Lord that due to His grace, this publication could see the light. Bhaktivedanta Swami went to the major libraries, universities, and schools in Delhi, where the librarian found him calm and quiet, noble, polite, scholarly, with a specific glow in him. Traveling on foot, he visited school administration offices throughout Delhi and placed copy in more than 40 schools in the Delhi area. The Ministry of Education, which has previously denied him assistance, placed an order for 50 copies for selected university and institutional libraries throughout India. The ministry paid him 600 rupees plus packing and postage charges. And Bhaktivedanta Swami mailed the books to the designated libraries. The US Embassy purchased 18 copies to be distributed in America through the Library of Congress. The institutional sales were brisk, but then sales slowed, as the only agent, Bhaktivedanta Swami, was now spending hours just to sell a few copies. He was eager to print the second volume, yet until enough money came from the first, he could not print. In the meantime, he continued translating and writing purports. Writing so many volumes was a huge task that would take many years. And at his present rate, which sells so slow, he would not be able to complete the work in his lifetime. Although there were many who took part in the production of the book, and still others who became customers. Only Bhaktivedanta Swami deeply experienced the success and failures of the venture. It was his project and he was responsible. No one was eager to see him writing prolifically, and no one demanded that it be printed. Even when the sales slowed to a trickle, the managers of OK Press were not distressed. They would give him the balance of his books only when he paid for them. And since it was also he who had the burden of hiring OK Press to print a second volume, the pressure was on him to go out and sell as many copies of the first volume as possible. For Hanuman Prasad Podar, the volume had been something so admired in passing. For Charan Sharma, it had been something he had tended to after his day's work. For Mr. Dalmia, for the boy who lived at Chippiwada, the book had meant a few errands. For the paper dealers, it had meant a small order. For Dr. Radhakrishnan, it had been but the slightest, soon forgotten matter in a life crammed with national politics and Hindu philosophizing. But Bhaktivedanta Swami, by his full engagement in producing the Bhagavatam, felt bliss and assurance that Krishna was pleased. He did not, however, intend for the Bhagavatam to be his private affair. It was the sorely needed medicine for the ills of Kali Yuga, and it was not possible for only one man to administer it. Yet he was alone, and he felt exclusive pleasure and satisfaction in serving his Guru and Lord Krishna. Thus his transcendental frustration and pleasure mingled. His will strengthened, and he continued alone. His spiritual master, if you read this, who will go through this thing, they will give up the idea. But Prabhupada was single-pointedly trying to please his spiritual master and Krishna. His spiritual master, the previous spiritual masters, and the Vedic scripture all assured him that he was right. If a person got a copy of the Bhagavatam and read even one page, he might decide to take part in Lord Chaitanya's movement. If a person seriously read the book, he would be convinced about spiritual life. The more this book could be distributed, the more the people could understand Krishna consciousness. And if they understood Krishna consciousness, they would become liberated from all the problems. Book selling was real preaching. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had wanted it, even at the neglect of constructing temple or making followers. Who could preach as well as Srimad Bhagavatam? Certainly, whoever spent 16 rupees for a book would also take the time at least to look at it. In the months that followed, Bhaktivedanta Swami received more favorable reviews. The prestigious Adiyar Library Bulletin gave a full review, noting, quote, the editor's vast and deep study of the subject, and concluding further volume of these publications are eagerly awaited. His scholarly godbrothers also wrote their appreciation. Swami Bon Maharaj, rector of the Institute of Oriental Philosophy in Vrindavan, wrote as follows. I have nothing but admiration for your bold and practical venture. If you should be able to complete the whole work, you will render a very great service to the cause of Prabhupada, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the country also. Do it and rest assured there will be no scarcity of resources. What a wonderful. Bhakti Sarang Maharaj wrote a full review in his Sajjanatosani as follows. We expect that this particular English version of Srimad Bhagavatam will be widely read and thereby spiritual poverty of people in general may be removed from forever. At a time when we need it very greatly, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami has given us the right thing. We recommend this publication for everyone's serious study. Sri Vishwanath Das, Governor of the Uttar Pradesh, commended the volume to all thoughtful people. An economic review praised the author for attempting a tremendous task. At a time when not only the people of India but those of the West need the chastening quality of love and truth in the corrupting atmosphere of hate and hypocrisy, a work like this will have uplifting and corrective influence. Dr. Zakir Hussain, Vice President of India, wrote as follows. I have read your book Srimad Bhagavatam with great interest and much profit. I thank you again for the kind thought which must have prompted you to present it to me. The favorable reviews, although Bhaktivedanta Swami could not pay the printer with them, indicated a serious response. The book was valuable, and subsequent volumes would earn the series even more respect. By Krishna's grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami had already completed many of the translation and purports for volume 2. Even in the last week of printing the first volume, he had been writing day and night for the second volume. It was glorification of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and therefore it would require many, many volumes. He felt impelled to praise Krishna and describe him in more and more volumes. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had said that the praises of the world could not print fast enough the glories of Krishna and the spiritual world that were being received at every moment by pure devotees. Bhaktivedanta Swami decided to return to Vrindavan for several months of intensive writing on volume 2. This was his real business at Radha Damodar temple. Vrindavan was the best place for writing transcendental literature. That had already been demonstrated by the Vaishnavacharya of the past. Living in a simple ease, taking little rest and food, he continually translated the verses and composed his Bhaktivedanta purport for volume 2. After a few months, after amassing enough manuscript pages, he would return to Delhi and once again enter the world of publishing. In volume 1, he had covered the first 6.5 chapters of the first canto. The second volume began on page 365 with the 8th verse of the 7th chapter. I think we saw in the book similar. Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote in his purport that the Srimad Bhagavatam was meant for Paramhamsas, person engaged purely in self-realization. Yet he wrote, it works into the depth of the heart of those who may be worldly men. Worldly men are all engaged in the matter of sense gratification, but even such men also will find in this Vedic literature a remedial measure for the material diseases. Bhaktivedanta Swami returned to Delhi to raise funds for the printing volume 2. When he visited a prospective donor, he would show the man volume 1 and the growing collection of reviews, explaining that he was asking a donation not to support himself, but to print this important literature. Although for the first volume he had received no donation equal to the 4,000 rupees he had received from Mr. Poda, an executive in the LNH sugar factory, gave a donation of 5,000 rupees for volume 2. Bhaktivedanta Swami had been dissatisfied with Hitsaran Sharma as a production supervisor. Although supposedly an expert in the trade, Hitsaran had caused delays, and sometimes he had advised Gautam Sharma without consulting Bhaktivedanta Swami. The work on volume 1 had slowed and even stopped when a job from a cash customer had come up, and Bhaktivedanta Swami had complained that it was Hitsaran's fault for not giving money to OK Press on time. For volume 2, Bhaktivedanta Swami decided to deal directly with the OK Press and supervise the printing himself. He spoke to Gautam Sharma and offered a partial payment. Although the majority of the copies of the volume 1 were still standing on the printing floor, Bhaktivedanta Swami wanted OK Press to begin volume 2. Gautama Sharma accepted the job. It was early in 1964 when volume 2 went to the press, following the same step as volume 1. But this time Bhaktivedanta Swami was more actively present, pushing to avoid delays. He purchased the paper himself at Siddhomal and Son Paper Merchants in the heart of the paper district. He would choose and order his paper and then arrange to transport it to OK Press. If the order was a large one, he would have it carried by cart. Smaller orders he would send by rickshaws or on the head of a bearer. In his preface to the second volume, Bhaktivedanta Swami expressed the apparent oddity of working in Delhi while living in Vrindavan. The path of fruitive activities, that is to say, the path of earn money and enjoy life, as it is going on generally, appear to have become also our professional, although we have renounced the order of worldly life. They see that we are moving in the cities, in the government offices, banks and other business places for promoting the publication of Srimad Bhagavatam. They also see that we are moving in the press, paper market, and amongst the book binders, also away from our residence at Vrindavan. And thus they conclude sometimes mistakenly that we are also doing the same business in the dress of a mendicant. But actually there is a gulf of difference between the two kinds of activities. This is not a business for maintaining an establishment of material enjoyment. On the contrary, it is an humble attempt to broadcast the glories of the Lord at a time when the people need it very badly. He went on to describe how in former days, even 50 years ago, a well-to member of the society has commissioned pundits to print or handwriting the Bhagavatam and then distribute copies among the devotees and the general people. But times has changed. At the present moment, the time is so changed that we had to request one of the biggest industrialists of India to purchase 100 copies and distribute them, but the poor fellow expressed his inability. We wish that somebody may come forward to pay for the actual cost of publication of this Srimad Bhagavatam and let them be distributed free to all the leading gentlemen of the world. But nobody is so far prepared to do this social uplifting work. After thanking the Ministry of Education and the Director of Education for distributing copies to institutions and libraries, Bhaktivedanta Swami again started his predicament before his reading public. Quote, "The problem is that we must get some money for completing the work, which is admittedly a mighty project. The sales proceeds are being employed to the promotional work and not in sense gratification. Herein lies the difference from the fruitive activities, and for all this, we have to approach everyone concerned just like a businessman. There is no harm to become a businessman if it is done on account of the Lord, as much as there was no harm to become a violent warrior like Arjuna or Hanumanji if such belligerent activities are executed to satisfy the desires of the Supreme Lord." Good. So even though we are not in the Himalayas, even though we talk of business, even though we deal in rupees and paisa, still, simply because we are 100% servant of the Lord and are engaged in the service of broadcasting the message of His glories, certainly we shall transcend and get through the invisible impasse of Maya and reach the effulgent kingdom of God to render Him face-to-face eternal service in full bliss and knowledge. We are confident of this factual position, and we may also assure you to our numerous readers that they will also achieve the same result simply by hearing the glories of the Lord. 652. We can read one more paragraph. On receipt of the first copies of the second volume, another 400-page, cloth-bound, brick color Srimad Bhagavatam with the same dust jacket as volume 1. Bhaktivedanta Swami made the round of the institutions, scholars, politicians, and booksellers. One Delhi bookseller, Dr. Manohar Lal Jain, had particular success in selling the volumes. Manohar Lal Jain, he spoke in his own word, he would come to me for selling his books. He would come often, and he used to chat with me for 1 or 2 hours. He had no other business except selling his books as much as possible. We would discuss the difficulties he was having and also many other things, yoga, Vedanta, and religious aspect of his life. His problem was distributing his work because it was a big publication. He had planned to publish it in many volumes. Naturally, I told him it was not possible for any individual bookseller or publisher here to publish it and invest money in it. So that was a little bit of a disappointment for him because he could not bring out more volumes. So I will stop here. 654. With this thought, I would like to offer my humble obeisances at the dusk of these wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who take so much austerity. It's not easy to wake up early in the morning every single day, despite the household responsibilities, maintaining family. So I deeply appreciate. And I think Krishna will be pleased with our effort. If anybody has any question, comment, corrections, chastisement, feel free to do so, because I'm not perfect, and any help that you can provide to improve would be greatly appreciated. So, no question, no comment, no correction, no chastisement, huh? Haribol. 32 warriors are here. Nobody want to share, no realization, nothing, huh? Haribol. So I guess we should stop here and see that if Krishna so desire, we will see you tomorrow, sharp at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. Or you can join at your convenient time. But thank you very much to join and supporting those devotees. Prabhupada used to say, one stick we can break very easily. But if there are 50 sticks together, nobody will be able to break it. So that is a very vivid example that how we need to associate and create a sangha where we can get this strength. So what can I say? It's a beautiful day. Sun has arisen to remove the darkness. But this sun can only remove the darkness during the day only. At night again it gets dark. But if you stay in contact with Krishna, who is always in light, will always remain active throughout the 24 hours. When we sleep, even before we go to sleep, if we remember Krishna and pray to him, we can have very peaceful sleep, very soothing and sublime. And who knows, maybe one day Krishna may appear in the dream and instruct us. I have some experience of my Guru Maharaj coming into my dream because we have established a relationship. So I think we should know for sure that when we will establish our relationship, Krishna will come and definitely will instruct us, even in the dream. So hope for the best and be happy. So thank you very much. I know some devotees are
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
having
Dandavat
some
Pranam.
medical difficulties.
Prabhu, I have one question. Like
Yes.
once anybody newcomer at your temple or newcomers are coming at our program, so how do you approach the Krishna consciousness to them? Like, what is your first interaction and how you deal with them to bring them again and again and make more interest?
Well, you make a friendship with them. Don't try to show that you are different than them. That is the biggest mistake I think I have done. Like somebody will call for the marriage, and we used to go, everybody in a different attire for the marriage receptions, suit and everything. And we, you know, nonsense fellow will present ourselves with dhoti, kurta, and tilak. For what? Just to become different from the common people. I think we need to learn to mix with the people, make them friend, and make them feel comfortable because everybody is not at the same level. So we have to deal with them differently, each individual. And when we are sincere, then Krishna will give us the intelligence to give that wonderful, instruction to us how to deal with it. First of all, I think we should welcome, and from our heart, we should treat them very nicely, that they should feel very comfortable.